Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This is Election Watch Analysis, and today we'll be talking about the 2022 Senate elections, but more specifically, the Republicans' opportunity to take back the Senate and once again make Mitch McConnell the Senate Majority Leader. So 2022 will be very, very interesting, since the last time an incumbent's party gained seats or really kept control of Congress was 2002, and before that it was, I believe, the year 1900, or it was a very, very long time ago, so please don't quote me on that, but it was definitely a really long time ago. And in 2002, it was, 2004, I believe, it was when George W. Bush and the Republicans kept the House and Senate, and that was after 9/11, so they had a very, very high popularity. So, certainly different times than now, but it could be similar if Joe Biden does a good job handling the coronavirus and the vaccine rollout, as well as with the economy, which did not do very well. And if he is the one responsible for any economic good times that happen, he and his party will certainly benefit. But today I'll be more specifically talking about the target states for the Republicans. Since the Republicans are the party in the minority, I thought it would only be fitting to let them have the first I make the video about them first, talking about what their targets will be. I will do one about the Democrats soon, and also one about the governorships soon after that. So you all can see those, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be instantly notified when those videos come out. But now I'll start out with the state Democratic states. So you have Patty Murray in Washington and Ron Wyden in Oregon. Shouldn't be too competitive. California, Alex Padilla, who was nominated by Governor Gavin Newsom to be the senator to replace Kamala Harris. He'll be likely running for re-election. In 2018 and 2016, there were two Democrats in the final election, since California uses a top two jungle primary system similar to Georgia, actually, and the special election, as we all saw. So it's actually quite likely Alex Padilla will be facing another Democrat, and maybe a more liberal one like Ro Khanna or Katie Porter, both representatives in the U.S. House, who are known for being progressives, and Alex Padilla is not very, very liberal. He is probably around Kamala Harris in terms of that. So I would still write to say Democratic, just since there are going to be two Democrats. Hawaii should be safe, along with Illinois, Tammy Duckworth. Chuck Schumer, who may or may not be Senate Majority Leader after this election, and unless I think he might get primary by a more progressive person, but it'd be unlikely that it's AOC. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think that'd be highly unlikely. In Vermont, the interesting thing about that is that if Patrick Leahy retires, it'll be an open seat, and if Phil Scott, the popular governor of Vermont, Republican, runs, it could actually flip. An open seat would be way easier to flip than running against the longtime senator and the most senior Democratic senator, so he will be Senator pro tempore, I believe, as soon as the two Georgia Democrats, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, are sworn in. But for now, I'll put that as state Democratic, since we do not know who will actually be who will actually be running in that one. Connecticut, Maryland, Larry Hogan declined. While it may change, it would be kind of risky for him to run. It would be against a one-term incumbent, so it'd be better than a long-term incumbent like in Vermont, but worse than an open seat. And if Larry Hogan is planning to run in 2024 in the Republican primaries, a defeat would significantly lower his chances. But that'll be it, and I'll get to Colorado in a second because I'm not rating that as safe. And for Republicans, the safe seats will be in the Midwest, of course, John Hoeven in North Dakota and John Thune in South Dakota, the number 3 Senate Republican. While he may be primaried and Trump himself has floated Governor Kristi Noem, she declined, so that does not look like it's likely to happen. Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, all safe. Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, again, all safe. Ohio, I'll put as safe. I know a lot of people are putting it as likely. But in 2016, I'm not quite sure the exact numbers, but Rob Portman got nearly 60% of the vote. I don't see why much of that could change unless he has a very, very hard-fought primary battle against maybe Jim Jordan, a very pro-Trump Republican, if that is still happening in 2022, which I'm going to touch on that a little later in some other races like Georgia and Arizona. So if that is still happening, it could be closer. If Democrats do field a good candidate, maybe Tim Ryan, who has gotten some name recognition for running for president and challenging Nancy Pelosi for the top Democratic job in 2016. But otherwise, I'm running that safe, along with Missouri, Roy Blunt, and he could be primary, but still, only Jason Kander, who has declined to run, could make it competitive, and he is not running. Lisa Murkowski, I'll rate as safe. Her seat, she could be primaried, but even if she does, she's been ousted in a primary before and run as a write-in candidate, and she actually won after that. So I'd put that as safe. And I think that she might become an independent. She has floated that herself, but she still caucus with the Republicans, much like Bernie Sanders and Angus King in Vermont and Maine, respectively, caucus of the Democrats. So really, it wouldn't make much of a difference. So I'd still rate that as safe. Now, going into the more competitive states, likely Democratic states, I'm going to put only one, Colorado. The reason why is I think that Michael Bennet is likely decently popular, and I forgot to put the 2020 results, so I apologize about that. So now that I have the 2020 results up, Joe Biden won this state by 13%, so I could count that as a safe margin. But I don't have it up now, or I will get it up in just 1 second, but I'll tell you while I'm getting it up. John Hickenlooper, the popular former governor, only got 9%, as you can see here. That means that about 4% of Colorado voters actually voted for Cory Gardner, which I find very interesting. So that certainly, quite interesting. So how that connects to Michael Bennet, I think he'll improve. He'd up to 10-11%. I'm putting that as my preliminary guess. Of course, as we get closer to election day, it could certainly rise above, maybe 12-13%. If it really, I think the largest margin could be 15%, but it depends on who the Republicans run. If there's an acceptable candidate, someone who can really appeal to maybe the centrists, then it could be closer, but unlikely since Michael Bennet is quite a conservative Democrat himself. Republican likely states, Iowa, since even if Chuck Grassley doesn't retire, he's pretty old, so there might be a lot of voters who switch over just because they're worried about his age. In Florida, Marco Rubio is pretty popular. So just given that, I think that he could certainly win by quite a handy margin. Democrats should really focus on the governor's race, which is definitely more likely to flip than Marco Rubio. He won by likely margin in 2016 as well, so if he stays popular, I could predict like a 7% margin. And then we have all those states, 46 for the Democrats, 47 for the Republicans, and the remaining 7 seats, I'll put all as the target GOP seats. So I'll explain my logic here. So in Nevada, if Brian Sandoval runs, a popular former governor who won even when Democrats are winning the state much more regularly, he was winning by well over 50%. He won by quite a large margin in his second in his re-election. So I assume he's quite popular and can appeal to a lot of different voters. If he runs, Catherine Cortez Masto could be in serious trouble, and that really depends if Biden is approved of. It'd be much harder for him to win, but if not, I think he could certainly pull off a victory if he runs a good enough campaign. Arizona, it's been a swing state. While people have cited, people are saying that it has grown further to the left in the past few years. Joe Biden did win it, and Martha McSally, I think personally, actually was the reason why those 2 seats flipped. Maybe not herself. I think the shifting demographics aided them. But obviously, there are a number of voters that did not vote for Martha McSally, and the reason why Mark Kelly won by 2.5% was because of her. I think he still would have won, but it would have been closer against another candidate. But Doug Ducey, there certainly could be an inter-party fight between him and the Republican wing, which he already had one earlier on. If that happens, and there's been a very bitter primaries, it could be very difficult for the Republicans to win the seat back. Into the other special election that was held in 2020 and now will be up for re-election in 2022, Raphael Warnock. will be running again, just because Johnny Isakson, the senator he replaced or was elected to replace in the Senate runoff, which was about 2 weeks ago. His seat was up in 2016, so it'll be up again. There aren't very many good candidates for the Republican side. There's Casey Cagle, who lost the governor primary in Georgia in 2018. He was lieutenant governor. He lost to Brian Kemp. He could run, but he's been in political irrelevancy for a very long time. And I haven't heard anything from him. And, even Wikipedia does not list anyone besides Doug Collins, my primary, Brian Kemp, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. If it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is, I believe, a QAnon supporter, it would be, I might even put that as likely, it'd be a wider margin than against Kelly Loeffler. So it's really up to the Republicans in this race to field a good enough candidate to flip back Georgia. It may be harder since there aren't very many candidates, but there likely is a state senator or some other official that could run. North Carolina, I think this is definitely in the Republicans' column. They can certainly win this race. It did not go for Biden. Cal Cunningham lost. Only victory was Roy Cooper, and he's only won because he had bipartisan support. Democrats thought they had a chance, and they weren't able to flip it. Obama only flipped it once, didn't do it again. Hillary Clinton couldn't, and now Joe Biden couldn't. I think this state really has a long way to go before it becomes more like Georgia. So Roy Cooper could run. He could win, definitely. But I think his lieutenant governor is a Republican. So therefore, I think that it end up being a loss for the Democrats. Otherwise, there are a lot of candidates on either side. And if I head down there, it lists a lot of them. As you can see, the North Carolina House Speaker, I think the worst candidate would be Laura Trump. Maybe Pat McCrory, who ran for governor about 3 times and only won once and was defeated by Roy Cooper. Otherwise, there's many Democratic candidates. Anita Earls, who's on the Supreme Court of North Carolina. Jeff Jackson, who seems like a very inspiring guy who could be more like Cal Cunningham or John Edwards if they didn't have those scandals. And several other, like the Attorney General of North Carolina. But for now, I'll put that out. Again, this is a target seat. Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, has filed for an exploratory committee. Looks like he's likely to run. Though, if it doesn't look like he has a good chance, he could also switch and run for governor since Tom Wolf is term limited. I think the Democrats are going to win this overall, since they have so many good candidates. Though if Joe Biden, again, does have a poor performance as president, it could definitely flip. But again, this is a target seat, and the Republicans will need to win this to get back the Senate. New Hampshire, I'm sure if you watch any other election prediction YouTubers, they will all say if Chris Sununu runs, it might flip. But otherwise, I think that it will be a Democratic seat, and it could be a likely one if, depending on how close we get to the election, we'll have to see. But at some points, it could rate it as likely. In 2020 Senate race, it was a state by a safe margin, so it could happen again. Now Wisconsin, the last state, I think that'll be the most competitive state and maybe one of the most likely to go to the Republicans. So, if Ron Johnson runs again, I think that he will lose re-election because I don't think he's very popular, and he almost lost in 2016 against Russ Feingold. And I think there are a lot of statewide elected officials, and the reason why I say that a lot is because when you've been elected statewide, it's, voters already know your name, you have more name recognition, you've served the whole of one state, and of course you've already won statewide before. Everyone's voted for you. So it's different than being representative and only winning in one district. But Democrats have multiple statewide elected candidates, and the Republicans do not. So if they feel a good candidate, Wisconsin can definitely flip back to them. So I'm just going to fill these out. If, let's say, they run a good candidate in Wisconsin, it's a tilt margin. That could definitely happen. It could be lean in North Carolina. Let's say Brian Sandoval runs in Nevada, and Catherine Cortez Masto does not run as good of a campaign. And he does. That could be good. And let's say Doug Ducey in Arizona reconciles with the Trump wing and uses his popularity as governor and takes back a lot of the rolls back a lot of the gains Democrats made to beat Mark Kelly and that'd likely be by a tilt margin. That gives the Republicans the Senate. The Democrats can win in Georgia, North New Hampshire. Sorry, I almost said North Hampshire, and Pennsylvania. They can win in all of those. I mean, it could be even by maybe even likely margin. They would still lose the Senate. So, I mean, if we're doing best case scenario for the Republicans, let's say Joe Biden's administration isn't very approved of. Let's just say, lean margin because Sununu runs. And then Republicans field a good candidate in Pennsylvania who's a populist and inspiring and really gets the workers to come out and beats maybe more of a poor Democratic candidate. That gets them 53. So Republicans have an opportunity to expand up to 54 seats in the Senate if they win this Georgia Senate race right here. And that means that Republicans do definitely have a chance to reclaim the Senate. And I would say Democrats are going to be in for tough defense, despite the fact that a lot of more Republican seats are up than Democratic seats. They're all mostly in safe territory. Like, Democrats are not going to flip Arkansas, Louisiana, and it's highly unlikely they're going to flip many of these states. We see here in the Red Wall, Kansas, South Dakota, North Dakota. Those are unlikely to flip. So I'm not doing it, and I'm going to quickly just tell you all why I'm not doing a prediction right now. I tried to, but it's really, really difficult to do so without knowing, initial polling is not out, candidates are not out. I don't know, more demographic, shifts are yet to happen. So it's been very difficult for me to make a full-on prediction. But nevertheless, I will make the closest that I can. So I will have having target states, and if you want to see more of that, as I said before, subscribe, hit the notification bell, so you'll be instantly notified. You can watch the video as soon as it comes out. I'll do one for the governorships in 2022, and there are plenty, and it's going to be super interesting. So I hope that you all watch that. And that's pretty much it. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Like the video so more people can see, and leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can tell me video suggestions, how I did, and you can also tell me what you thought of the video and what your prediction for 2022 is. You think the Democrats will be able to roll back the curse of the incumbent being the incumbent's party, or will they be able to win? But of course, we'll see. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.